saying Hare Krishna.
Okay, all the men came. But the ladies, you left the ladies at home.
Here's Mataji.
Okay.
They're in the kitchen.
Okay, nice to see you. Thank you for coming. So before we get started, please tell me, who's the senior devotee here? I know Daiva Pr. So, others, huh? Among you men? Yeah? Okay. So that means what? How long you're in ISKCON?
From last 5 years.
5 years, you?
I am 3 years.
Okay.
It's my first time.
Just coming. Oh! Good. Thank you for joining us. Okay. So anyway, between less than 5 years, who's less than 5 years? 5 to 10 years. More than 10 years. Okay. All right. Like that. 1977, I was living at Gitanagari in Pennsylvania. And if you know the history, you know Prabhupada was going to come there to show us how to do Varna-Ashram Dharma. And so we were all very eagerly awaiting Srila Prabhupada's arrival. And of course, you know the history, he did not come that far. He came to Britain, then he turned back to Vrindavan. So since that time, I'm thinking a lot about Varna-Ashram Dharma. Because Prabhupada was going to come show us, so what it would be. Actually, during that time, I had a very, very strong inspiration about Varna-Ashram Dharma. And so I consider this is like Prabhupada speaking to me directly about what this idea is. Oh. How many of you have second initiation? Okay. So then, what's the difference between the Dvijas and the non-Dvijas? So if you don't know, Dvija means twice born. This means, generally in traditional Vedic culture, this means Vaishya, Kshatriya, or Brahmana. Okay. Sudras, they did not get Diksha. So then, what's the difference between the twice born and the not twice born? The Dvijas and the non-Dvijas. Who can say? We may go by, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, that the Sudras, that they do farming, cow protection. The Vaishyas, the Sudras do service to others. The Vaishyas, they give, they take care of agriculture, trade, cows. Kshatriyas, they take care of managing things, protecting society, and Brahmanas, they are intelligentsia. But there's an actual fundamental difference based on this quote. Does that show? Can you see this? You can make it come?
It's not working today.
Okay.
So
let's just say, in this light, it's not very good. Okay, so this sloka that I want to speak from, yeah. This is 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 1. Chapter 1, text 41. I'll just read the translation. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayan, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world. but nevertheless he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature: Sattvagun, Rajagun, and Tamagun. In this way, all living entities are awarded different qualities and different names, such as Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya. Different duties according to the Varna-Ashram institution, and different forms. Thus, Narayan is the cause of the entire cosmic manifestation. So, Narayan is controlling the material world with the gunas. And all of us, we are influenced in different ways according to the gunas by our previous activities. Some more rajas, some more sattva, some more tamas, like this. And according to the influence of these gunas, then people are different qualities in the Varna-Ashram system. But there's another bigger difference between the Dvijas and not Dvijas. And for this, let's see. How can we do this? Anybody have coins with them?
I have.
Yeah.
I just came from Sankirtan.
Okay.
We have some.
Okay, good. So 1 penny. You all know what penny looks like. This you can do. I wish I could show you a picture. Okay, let's say we have a penny with the head side up. Okay? Penny is there. Then we will have a dime, not head side up. And we will have a quarter, not head side up. Okay? So 3 coins sitting there. So you can remember this very easily. You know what the coins are. So now I want you to write on your paper, what is the relationship between these 3 items? So, here. Yeah, bring this top. Okay, here. Just hold it flat. You could take and show everybody, and everybody can look at this. Just like that. Don't tilt it. Don't let them fall.
Don't touch.
Huh?
So one is first pennies. Penny is heads up.
2 heads
Two
up.
are tails.
1 heads up and 2 heads.
No talking. So you write on your paper the relationship between these 3 items. You need paper? Cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
Paper.
You have pen?
Yeah.
There is pen.
Don't worry. There's no right and wrong answer. Write down what you see, what comes to your mind. Just put it down here in front. We have some very smart people. They're very still busily writing.
We don't know what to write.
I only have 4.
That's okay. All right.
You're in Silicon Valley. There's a lot of intelligent people.
Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
Okay.
Intelligent.
So, now generally, how many of you have heard of neuro-linguistic programming? Okay, this is from neuro-linguistic programming. There's different kinds of people in this world, and of course in this sloka it's explaining different kind of people according to the gunas. But the neuro-linguistic program, they explain that there's different kind of people based on what they call meta-programs, how people see the world. So gunas is one way of understanding that. Meta-programs is another one. And this is called sorting, okay? So generally when people, they look at some items, and you can do this with any 3 items. You could do different, say, pens, or any kind of 3 similar things, kitchen utensils, whatever, like that. And the idea is that some people, they look at this and they see only similarities. They will say, well, they're all round, they're all money, they're all made out of metal, they're all from the United States, they're all have some design on them, they all have a smooth edge or not, like that. Some people, they say, see, first they will see similarities, but then they will see differences. So then they'll say, well, 2 are silver and 1 is copper. And they will see, oh, there are different values. And probably minted at different dates. The differences. Some people, they see differences first, and then similarities. And then there's some people, very small percentage, they see only differences. So this is very significant, how we see the world, how we see and understand the world. For people that see only similarities, this is approximately 60% of the population. They cannot see any differences. This means that when they go into a situation, they are looking to see how everything is working together. And they don't see how things are in disharmony. Okay? The others, both the ones who see similarities first and then differences, or differences and then similarities, this group makes up about 30%, 35%. And then the ones who see only differences, this is about 2%. Generally, those people are called fault finders. Right? They can only see the problem. They can't see things any other way. They have value, right? They can help us understand what's wrong, because that's all they see is what's wrong. And unfortunately, they can't even see what's right if you show them. So, the ones who see all the similarities, only similarities, this is generally Sudra nature. These people, they do not have much discriminating intelligence to understand what is the problem and what is the solution. So many of you, your engineering type mind, engineers means you have to have discriminating intelligence, you have to solve problems. This means you have to see what's wrong. So you have to see what's wrong, but then to solve the problem, you also have to know when it's right. So like this. So this means discriminating intelligence. This means Dvija. So Sudra, they are the people who, they want to do things right. The Dvijas, they're the ones who are looking to understand what's the right thing to do. Huh? And oftentimes there's conflict between these groups, especially if the ones who see what's wrong, also, if they do not have position of authority, if they're perceived to be on an equal level with the ones who only see things right, there will be friction, clash. Because somebody say, there's a problem here. And the other one says, no, why are you finding fault? He's just fault finder. Huh? Like this. They can't see the problem. So this is also a result of the gunas. So, Dvija means discriminating intelligence. Means some person who can understand what is wrong and how to fix it. These are the leaders of society. And without these leaders, the others who see only things, who cannot see with discrimination like that, they won't be able to function because they don't know what to do first, second, and third. Maybe after they get some experience, but generally it requires the help of those who have this discriminating intelligence to be able to understand what to do when, what not to do, and so on. So we need this. Krishna, he created Chatur Varnya Maya Sristam. Krishna created 4 Varnas. And why? For the proper functioning of human society. Without all 4 types, things cannot function nicely. So this is called social machine. Just like, say, we have a bicycle. Simple machine. There's more than 4 parts, but social machine has 4 parts. Bicycle, pedals, chain, wheels, frame, handlebars. 5, 6 parts. If that machine is not assembled properly, can't work, right? If you take the handlebars and put them where the wheel is supposed to go, well, it doesn't work, right? You put the wheel where the seat is supposed to go, put the seat where the wheel is supposed to go, it doesn't work. So the machine has to be assembled properly. When it's assembled properly, all the parts, they work in harmony with the others, and it can produce, it does some useful work. Okay? The same thing with the social machine. If the parts are not assembled properly, they don't work in harmony with each other, the social machine does not work. It breaks down. So this is what we have today. We have the situation where, say, somebody goes into the doctor's office, right? And he's got his stomach where his head is supposed to be. His arms are where the legs are supposed to be. Right? The legs are where the stomach's supposed to be. He comes in the office and he says, "Doc, I got a problem." Doc said, "Yeah, I could see that," right? So this is the situation of our world today. The social machine is not functioning properly because people do not understand what the social machine is. What are the different parts? How are they supposed to work together? And what the result is when they do work together. The social machine is broken down because of misplaced values. Mainly, too much tamagun. Right? When tamagun goes up, it's called zero sum. You all probably know this phrase, huh? When something goes up, something else must go down, like that. So if rajas increases, then either tamas or sattva have to decrease, and so on. So the situation that we have today is that rajas and tamas are way up, and sattva has gone way, way down. And as a result, without the influence of sattva, the intelligence is bewildered. And people are working for the wrong purpose. They don't know what their best interest is. They think, my best interest, oh, I'll get a lot of money. Right? Everybody's eager to get money. But you know, of course we have the lottery. They've had the lottery for so long. And somebody wrote a book about what happens to people who win the lottery. Maybe you've heard of this. Very interesting thing. So many people, they're dying, wishing, oh please, if I win the lottery, it will solve all of my problems. Actually, it's just the beginning of their problems. Most of them, they say, I wish I would never have won the lottery. Because first thing that happens is they don't know who their friends are anymore. Hey, oh, remember me? Oh, buddy, yeah. All these people start coming to see them that they haven't seen in years. Why? Oh, are they really my friends? They can't tell. And so they start to withdraw, they become isolated, they don't know who to trust, and then they don't know what to do with the money. What do I do with all this millions of dollars? There was one fella, he just kept $1 million in a briefcase and carried it around with him all the time. For what? You know, just because I have $1 million, you know. I feel like a millionaire when I carry it around with me. Different kind of false ego. Anyway, these poor unfortunate people, when they win the lottery, it ruins their lives. It destroys their life because they don't know the purpose of life. So, misplaced values due to too much tamagun, too much rajagun. In our society, particularly America, especially now, you go into the stores, right? Walmart. There's unlimited products. You can't even imagine where all these things come from. These people are sitting around thinking of more and more and more things, And then, of course, you go in there intending to buy one thing and you walk out with 5 other things that you didn't even think about when you walked in the store. They're called impulse items. Oh, yeah, that's cool. Let me get that. I get that. Right? In this way, our energy is being wasted. It's being spent without our being able to control it or understand how to channel it in a productive way. And the whole society is arranged in such a way as to force us. We're forced to give our energy to a system that destroys us. Right? We have to work too hard. Some places, they're working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, even more. In the United States, this is some years ago, but maybe the measurement is more extreme, but parents generally spend more time shopping than they do with their children. So, how do we get what we need? Well, we have to go shopping. And of course, it's cruel and unusual punishment to take a child into the store, so better to leave them at home. It's actually better to leave them at home because they can't control their senses, right? They see, they want. So this society is established with misplaced values. It's actually a society that's established by the asuras. It's not Daiva society. It's not saintly society. It's created by the asuras to serve their purposes. And what do they want? More. 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 And still more. And where are they going to get it? From you. And you. And you. And you. Because you've got some. And they want it all. So this is what they're doing. In many of the third world countries, at least that was earlier, over the 80s and 90s. And then of course, after the fall of the Soviet Union, this became known as what was it? They had all these pejorative terms for capitalism, right? Gangster capitalism, or what is it? I can't think of them. But many pejorative words to denigrate capitalism. You know, cutthroat capitalism, gangster capitalism, vulture capitalism. That's what I was trying to think of, right? Where they simply prey on people. They take, right? So my book, Spiritual Economics, are they here?
Yes.
Yeah, hand me a copy. My book, Spiritual Economics, I explain economic behavior according to the three gunas. So there's economics of goodness, economics of passion, and economics of ignorance. And economics of goodness is the indigenous cultures of the world. Maybe some of you have read Bhakti Vikas Maharaj's book, Glimpses of Traditional Indian Life. Anybody? Should all read this book. He explains there how India was at once living in a very simple sattvic way. And people were, what's the result of sattva? Huh?
Happiness.
Satisfaction. Everybody was satisfied. And I can remember even when I was a child here in the United States in the 1950s, so what's that, 60 years ago, even as a child, I can remember people were satisfied to have one telephone, one automobile for family. Before television, they only had one radio per family. After television, only one television. They were satisfied. They didn't travel much. But then the 60s came along. And with the 60s, a whole new idea, everything was changing, and new products. Then we got plastic. Plastic, in the 50s, we didn't have plastic. So maybe some of you are older, you have gray hair, you can remember. But without plastic, everything's made with plastic today, right? So very many more things, many more things came. Then there was transistor radios came, so electronics started becoming popular, different kind of electronics, different kind of media, tape players and so on. So more was coming. This means the influence of rajas is increasing, and people would see these things, oh, more, and we want to get more. And so it's increased so much, so now that everybody has a phone, everybody has a car, right? There's a television in every room like this. This is how people are living now. And we're thinking, oh, this is better, but it's not better. Because what's the result of rajas? Distress, suffering. So we've got more, but 25% of the people are taking psychotropic pills. Cannot function in this society on a daily basis without taking a pill. Because it's not the person that's crazy, it's the society that's crazy. But they don't know, they won't say that. No. And then now it's progressed after the year 2000. We're in the 1990s. Where the powers that be, means the financial powers, the IMF and the World Bank, maybe you've heard those words, they're just preying on all the countries. Here, I'll give you a loan to help you out. But in return, you have to stop, you have to take money away from your hospitals, take money away from your schools, take money away from your social programs, and give that all to me, right? This is the conditions for their loan. These are called structural adjustments. They got a nice word for it. But it's stealing from the people because they want it all. So, this is the nature of the world. This world is created by the asuras for their purpose to take money from everybody. They become rich from you. Actually, in this world, We are the slaves of the Asuras. Especially, you have children that are born. When your children are born, as a dutiful parent, they give you the birth certificate. Here, please sign. This is your child, right? Well, you don't know the fine print. You didn't read. When you sign the birth certificate, you're giving possession, ownership of your child to the state. It's a fact. And the birth certificate is kept with the Department of Commerce because every person in this country is pledged against the collateral debt of the United States government. So when Obama increases the debt by another $8 trillion, what's that mean? Us and our children are going to pay it back. Yeah, they own us. We don't know that. We're trying to take advantage of the situation. Yeah, the world has worked like that. I can buy a house and I can rent it out, right? Now rents are going through the roof. Huh? In San Francisco, my son just told me, I was visiting up in San Francisco with him. It costs $1,200 per bedroom up there. It's probably the same here. Huh?
More.
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 So you know more than I do. Huh? Yeah. And everybody's thinking, oh, this is a good system. I'll buy a house. I can rent it out too. And I can get some. Right? So this is how it works. They let the people participate in the game to whatever extent that they can. And everybody agrees to go along with the system. But they don't realize how simply by the act of using money, we use money every day, either through the bank card or cash, doesn't make any difference. When we spend money, it acts to make all of us more poor. So you've heard back in 2012 about everybody's protesting about the 1%, huh? These greedy 1% people. But it's actually the 1/10 of 1%. Somebody can bring some more? The greedy 1/10 of 1%, they have much, much more wealth, right? So just to give you an idea of this, if you take, child's building block, right, letter blocks, they're about 1 inch on the side. So if each of those represents $1,000, most people's income would have a stack of blocks not more than 3 feet high. $36,000, most people. Some go a little bit higher. The 1%, how high does their stack of blocks go? Higher than the Eiffel Tower. Why? Because every time we use money, we take money from all of us and we surrender money to them. The way money works, where does money come from? Huh? It's loaned into existence. We have what's called a debt economy. So the Federal Reserve Bank, which is not a function or a unit of the United States government, they create money out of thin air and they loan it to the United States government. And the government has to pay that back with interest. So every year the United States government is paying, probably by now it's 500 billion or more in debt service. And it goes back to the Federal Reserve Bank. Now, who owns the Federal Reserve Bank? Mostly Europeans, private Europeans. Rothschild, Schiffs, Morgans, these people. Maybe you know some of these names. They're not listed in the Forbes 500 richest. They don't even show up there because they don't want to become a target. If you knew, they have trillions of dollars. They own the central banks of all the governments of the world. And so they're collecting this interest on loaning. They operates the same way everywhere. They loan the money to the governments of the world, and the governments all pay interest. With the exception of a few countries that won't get along with the program. whom George Bush called the axis of evil. And that's why, right? This was Cuba, Libya, Syria, Iran, Iraq, North Korea, these countries. They didn't want to go along with the program, so they had to be destroyed. And the effort is there to make so much propaganda so that we'll think, oh, they're nasty, terrible people, and yes, we should bomb them. Well, because they're so bad. But that's why they're bad. This is the world we live in. Huh? We have to understand what is the nature of this world. If we understand that, then we can understand the need for Krishna consciousness. Not just for myself to go back to Godhead, but to save this world. Prabhupada said, save them, save all of them. And if you can't save all of them, save as many as you can. Huh? Yeah. They're being chewed up by the Rakshasas and spit out. And now it's come to the United States. It was called, you've heard of austerity. All these countries like Greece, Spain, they have to go through this austerity, right? The IMF, the World Bank loans them money, now they have to do austerity. It's just to suck the energy from the people. They're so envious, these demons, they don't want you to be happy. It's strange for a normal person to hear this. But they're more happy when you're suffering. So envious. And so they do it in the United States in a different way than they've done it in South America or in Greece. They're also doing it in Western Europe. What the pigs countries, right? Portugal, Iceland, Greece, Spain, and Ireland. Anyway, this is how they're controlling the world. They loan money, and everybody says, oh, good, money, right? They got this game called money. Now here's the rules, very simple. I'm the banker, you're the rest of the world. The rules are, I win and you lose. Right? And I say, let's play the game of money, and everybody says, oh, good, we're going to have money. Well, we'll be able to get a lot of things. So I give a lot of money, and everybody's happy because we're all getting things, and the economy's great, and then I stop the supply of money. And then everybody goes, hey, I don't have money, I can't pay my bills. Okay, I'm the banker, I take all your properties back, I take your businesses, right? Like that. This is called shearing the sheep, right? Just like the sheep, he grows a lot of hair, and then the farmer, he comes and he cuts the sheep's hair. And so everybody suffers, and the banker says, oh, I'm sorry, it's a recession. It's okay, we'll get it together. Give us a few years. And we get it together, and then we turn on the supply of money again. And everybody says, oh, good, we got money. All right, let's go. And we go out and we spend a lot of money, and everybody's happy. And then I turn off the supply of money again. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a depression. We'll be able to figure it out soon. Just bear with us. And I take all your houses, I take all your businesses, take your assets. I gave you paper. Now I'm taking back your real property. And then after 10 years or so, I say, okay, well, we've got it. We've got the problem solved. We're going to play the game of money again. And everybody says, yay, all right, money. What's wrong with this picture? The game is rigged against us. But we're too busy playing the game to understand what the rules are and how the rules have been set up. And so we continue to act against our own best interest. Materially, what to speak of spiritually? Spiritually, we have no time for sadhana, right? I can't go to the temple in the morning, I got to get off and go to work. Right? No time to read Srimad Bhagavatam. Maybe I'll get my 16 rounds done, maybe not. I go and I eat food cooked by non-devotees because I don't have time to cook at home. I can't go home. So, you remember in Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna book, when Kamsa, he heard this child Krishna is born, or Hiranyakashipu also. He sent all of his demons, friends, out to destroy the Brahminical class, cut down the trees, right? Destroy the mines, pollute the sacrificial arena, don't let the Brahmins perform sacrifice. We read about that. They did it before, and they're doing it now. But how do they do it now? By forcing you to work. And you're saying, oh good, I'll get a lot of money. But the same purpose is served. I can't perform my religious duty because I don't have time. So we're not paying attention. We're playing their game. They've created the way this world works, and it serves our interests in terms of sense gratification. And so, yeah, okay. Why fight it, you know? Can't fight City Hall. We'll just go along with the program, right? And we'll collect money because then we get to go to India for pilgrimage, right? Yeah, right. So we have to participate in this system because we want to go to India. So there's a disconnect between understanding how this world is working and our spiritual principles. We have a wonderful book, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. We say, yes, this is my scripture, right? But we don't follow it. We don't follow Bhagavad Gita. Who knows the sloka? Karmani varikaraste ma kaleshu parat karmani varikaraste ma paleshu kadachana ma kama palahitur bur mate sangosva karmani. So, translation. You know the Sanskrit. You have a right to perform your prescribed duty, but
not to take the results.
You're not entitled to the results. Okay. How many of you have a job? And what are the results of your activity? You get a paycheck. But Krishna says, that's not for you. We have a problem here, don't we? Right?
No, it's not for him, it's for his wife.
Ah. Very good. Yes. Thank you, Mataji. First time I've heard that. Yeah. Krishna says, and why does Krishna say that? Because karma. As long as we want the result of our activity, we become implicated in karma. Then we're trapped in this world. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is teaching us how to become free from karma. And he says, you don't own anything. It's not yours, right? So the materialist is false ego. Aham mameti. Aham bogi, aham mameti. I am the enjoyer and I am the proprietor. But what does Krishna say? 529. What is it? Bhoktaram jagat tapasam. Oh, good. We have a letter. Krishna says, I'm the enjoyer. I'm the proprietor. And I'm the dearmost friend of others. And if you want to take my place, okay. You become covered up by Maya. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is showing us how to become free from this ahankara, I and mine. But we're not paying attention. Because we're living according to the system that's created by the asuras, who want to increase I and mine. That's their business. They've created this whole arrangement to increase my sense of proprietorship. I can own more and more and more. Huh? And I am the enjoyer. Hmm? And we're playing their game. We're playing their game of money. We're following their way of life. And we profess to be devotees. What kind of devotee are we? What does it mean to become devotee? Do I give that up somehow? Well, I'm continually doing it, but I'm still trying to give it up, right? I'm going to give up my attachment, but at the same time I'm acquiring more. It doesn't work. It can't work. Huh? So we have to understand what is the reality of this world. Now, to be a little fair, we're not to blame in one sense, because we're born in the darkness of ignorance, right? We're born into this system. None of us created this money. We're simply trying to get along. Huh? We have to live in this world somehow. Okay. But Prabhupada, you know, he was a social reformer. Prabhupada was not trying to live in this world. Prabhupada wanted to change this world. He didn't come here to live in the world. He said, I didn't come here to the United States to take anything from you, to get anything from you. I've simply come to give. What's he giving? Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. Because with this, we can understand what the reality is, and then we can change the way we live, so that we can change our consciousness. This is what the intention is. This is the purpose of all the book distribution. Not that we just distribute a lot of books. It's very wonderful. The yatra here, you distribute so many books. That's wonderful. But do we follow the books? Do we do what's written there? No, because we're absorbed. We're living in that. We're living in this culture, and so we don't see the discrepancy. Right? So a very simple example. Natvevaham chatunasam natvam nime janadipaha. So, never was there a time when that did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings. Now, if we try to understand that verse in relationship to our own experience, Bhagavad Gita doesn't make sense. There's a lot of people, they say, I read that book, it doesn't make sense. Never was there a time when that did not exist, but I was born on March 8th, 1983. And never will we ever cease to be. But my grandfather, he died 3 years ago. Bhagavad Gita doesn't make any sense. So we can't understand Bhagavad Gita according to the context of this world. We have to give up the context of this world and see this world in the context of Bhagavad Gita. Then we can change. Then we can understand what's going on. Huh?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. We cannot understand Bhagavad Gita according to the context of this world. Okay? Bhagavad Gita doesn't make sense in the context of this world. Just like, for example, Prabhupada says in the introduction that we have to at least assume that Krishna is God when we read Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, the book doesn't make sense. Okay? So, we have to see Bhagavad Gita in its own context, and we see this world according to Bhagavad Gita. Not try to see Bhagavad Gita according to this world. Then we can see, oh, yeah, we can see those differences, right? The similarities and differences, right? Because what Bhagavad Gita says is not reflected by the behavior of people in this world and the things of this world. There's a disconnect. Things don't match up. And what we're meant to do is to see where this disconnect is and to adjust our thinking to Bhagavad Gita and then see this world in a different way. Then we understand how to change our behavior, why to change our behavior. If I have a nice job, I'm making a lot of money, why change my behavior? Life is good. Enjoy. And at the end of life, we'll go back to Godhead. That's one philosophy. Sure. Huh? But what about them? What about all these people in the world? Huh? Who's going to save them? If we continue to live according to this system, we're the ones who have the different philosophy. We're the ones who are understanding how this world is working, why it's working according to gunas, how to change the world, but we're living like they do. So how is anything going to change? It doesn't. We're not. We're not living our philosophy. Huh? This is a problem. You know, maybe you've heard of Amish. Everybody's heard of Amish people, yeah? So that's close to Gitanagari Farm in Pennsylvania. There's a county called Lancaster County where a lot of Amish live. And they get so many tourists go there. Well, because the Amish, they don't use automobiles. They drive horse and buggy. They don't use electricity. Huh? And people want to go see these people who are living differently. Why are they living differently? Because they live according to their philosophy. Huh? The simple living of the Bible, they're living like that. So everybody's curious. Let's go see these people. These are remarkable people. They renounce the luxuries and the conveniences of modern life so that they can live their philosophy. And they've been doing that for hundreds of years. So they must realize some benefit from it. Otherwise, they would have given it up a long time ago. Right? No, we don't live our philosophy. We profess, yes, Bhagavad Gita, this is my scripture. But we don't follow it. And consequently, although we could save the world, we're not. So, who's going to do it? It's already done, actually. Just like Battle of Kurukshetra. Krishna says, I've already decided what the conclusion's going to be. Arjuna, you can take part and take the credit if you want. So, Lord Chaitanya's mercy is coming. You can take part in it and get the credit if you want. How far does that mercy go? Just to give somebody a book? Just to introduce them to the Maha Mantra? What about all those people that don't get a book? Huh? Who's going to take care of them? If we show people how to solve the problem, then we can make a real change in this world. I'm going to read a little bit from the last chapter of my book. This is called Solving the Economic Problem. And in this chapter, I'm quoting from several different people who are explaining what the problem is. Sut Jolly, a professor of communications at the University of Massachusetts, asked the question, and he cites... Oh, okay, I'm sorry, let me back up a little bit. Okay, we'll start with the scientist's warning to humanity. Anybody hear about that? This came out in 1992. So there's a group of scientists, they're called the Union of Concerned Scientists, and there's about 1,600 Nobel laureates that are members of this. They issued in 1992 a warning to humanity. Warning, human beings in the natural world are on a collision course. Human activities inflict harsh and often irreversible damage on the environment and on critical resources. If not checked, many of our current practices put at serious risk the future that we wish for human society and the plant and animal kingdoms, and may so alter the living world that it will be unable to sustain life as we know. Fundamental changes are urgent if we are to avoid a collision our present course will bring about. Warning. We, the undersigned senior members of the world scientific community, hereby warn all of humanity of what lies ahead. A great change in the stewardship of the earth and life on it is required. If human misery is to be avoided and our global home on this planet is not to be irretrievably mutilated, a new ethic is required, a new attitude towards discharging our responsibility for caring for ourselves and the earth. We must recognize the earth's limited capacity to provide for us. We must recognize its fragility. We must no longer allow it to be ravaged. This ethic must motivate a great movement convincing reluctant leaders and reluctant governments and reluctant people themselves to effect the needed changes. The scientists issuing this warning hope that our message will reach and affect people everywhere. We need the help of many. That was in 1992. 5 years later, in 1997, they issued a repeat of the warning. 5 years have gone by, and nothing's been done. Well, that was 20 years ago now. Same thing. Nothing's been done. Signed by 1,500 of the world's leading scientists. So, Einstein gave us a hint at finding the solution in his maxim that a problem cannot be solved at the same level of thinking in which it is created. Thomas Kuhn put it another way in his seminal book, The Structure of Scientific Revolutions. He demonstrates that an old, worn-out, and failing paradigm will not be replaced by evidence, facts, or even the truth, no matter how despairing that truth may be, which is what the scientist's warning was. Rather, the new paradigm must be introduced, a new paradigm must be introduced that provides a better understanding of the problems as well as offering insights to the solution through other ways of thinking. Therefore, even the blatant truth of the Union of Concerned Scientists was insufficient to bring about the solution, and they know it. They themselves are calling for a new ethic, a great change in the stewardship of Earth. But where can a new ethic be found? Can we get one at Walmart? Sut Jolly, professor of communications at the University of Massachusetts, asks the same question. And he cites advertising as the cause of the problem. Advertising, he says, has been embraced by people as a religion because it shows them how to solve the many problems of their lives. But he says it is advertising that is creating the consumer culture that is responsible for the environmental calamities. When asked how we can deal with that and catalyze a reformation, he says, it is an important question because I actually believe the survival of the human race is at stake. We are now coming to a stage in human history that the notion of unlimited growth can no longer go unquestioned. The physical limits of the planet are literally bursting at the seams, and if we keep producing at this rate, the planet will destroy itself. What we need now is a new vision of society that is not based upon an ever-increasing number of goods. The Reformation will be a questioning of the very nature of economic growth, the health of our society, and what we want it to do and how to organize it. That growth ethic is about consumption. It says happiness is connected to the number of things the society produces and the things that individuals have. But having said that, I don't know how to do it. We can talk about and analyze the situation, but when it comes to constructing a new vision, I don't know how to do that. It's not just manipulation, and it's not just a question of showing people that they're being fooled. Unfortunately, what we don't have yet is an alternative vision, an alternative way of thinking about ourselves. I think that for the future of the planet, we need to develop that alternative vision and mobilize the people around it. That's the challenge. So I go on for a few more pages, quoting other people about the same thing. These are the dweeges of society. They have discriminating intelligence. They can see what's wrong. They're paying attention to it. But they don't know how to solve the problem. Why? Because they're stuck with their materialistic worldview. Our worldview provides us with the concepts and ideas, the tools that we have to understand reality. And people who are raised without the Vedic worldview, with a materialistic worldview, they can't understand what the real problem is. So Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada's teachings, they give us that alternative worldview by which we can understand what the problem is and how to solve it. This is our job. To take that understanding and teach people, show them how the spiritual element is missing in their material worldview, and how when we add the spiritual element and understanding how spirit interacts with matter according to the gunas, how this allows us to understand what is the real problem. And what's the real problem? Just materially speaking, too much tamagun and not enough sattva. Right? So that's what I say. Understanding and solving the economic problem. The only way we can solve the economic problem for everyone is to increase sattva gun. Right now, a lot of people have an economic problem. You were telling me, so many people getting laid off. Huh? Oh, I lost my job. I've got an economic problem. Generally, you ask people, is there an economic problem? And they look in their wallet and they say, oh, no, I guess not. Or, yeah, there's nothing there. Huh? Economic problem means economic problem for me, not for these other people. Huh? Because we're self-absorbed. Our culture teaches that. That's his problem, not my problem. What's that mean? No sattva. When there's sattva gun, your problem is my problem, and my problem is your problem. This is sattva gun. We won't allow there to be homeless people if we have sattva gun. How could there be? How could we allow people just to sleep on the street, have no place to take care of themselves? What kind of culture is that? People have no place to eat. Huh? What kind of culture is that? And we participate in it. Huh? Because it serves us. Rather than creating a different culture that takes care of everyone, based on the principles of Bhagavad Gita, with sattva, with concern for everyone, with samadarshana, seeing with equal vision every living entity. Huh? Living our philosophy. Well, this is why we need Dhanesvara Dharma. We need to understand this world, how it's working. And those who are dvijas, those with discriminating intelligence, look and see what the problem is beyond your own bank balance. And act together to change this world by establishing a culture that's based in sattva gun, that takes care of everyone. This is what Prabhupada's mission, Prabhupada's movement is meant to do. It's not just simply about bringing, the religion of India to America. It's, teaching people how to worship Krishna instead of Jesus. It's not about that. It's about changing the world. And all of us are meant to act together to achieve that purpose. That means Daiva Varna-Asram. Hare Krishna. We'll stop there for discussion. Daiva Prabhu.
That was bold. That was very bold. Thank you. It reminded me of Prabhupada's preaching to the scientists. The verse that came up for me was, who knows the verse? I don't know it. But where Krishna says they create horrible
The Suras,
Yeah.
16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, they engage in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world.
Yeah, your preaching tonight reminded me of that verse. It's very heavy. Like you say, unless we're familiar with Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, this would be really like over the top for most people. But as devotees, we can appreciate. That's just a comment. But I have a question. Bringing people, Prabhupada made a prediction that millions of people would come to our farms once we have them, and that they should live there. That point of living there, devotees are, that's a hard one to convince devotees amongst other things related to Daiva Varna-Asram, but that is one that I'd like to hear an answer about from you. How they can live there and gradually, I mean, I don't know how much of the religious principles they'll be expected to follow or come to the mode of goodness, and naturally they will follow. How will that manifest?
Varna-Ashram Dharma means, Prabhupada gave one definition, is how to turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord.
Oh, repeat that. I'm sorry, the first part.
To turn a crude man into a pure devotee of the Lord. This is the purpose of Varna-Ashram
The
Dharma.
purpose of it.
So, it's a matter of association. Now, when Prabhupada says they will come to our farms, let's not get carried away by the word our. The Dvijas, the intelligentsia, are meant to guide society because they have discriminating intelligence, what to do, what not to do. Right? Based on what? Spiritual principles, not money. Modern society is organized by money, very nicely. Works very good. It's a very efficient organizer of society. But money is a recent invention. 3,000, about 3,000 years ago, there was no such thing as money. There was no money economy. So how was society organized then? By religious principles. Everywhere around the world. All the indigenous cultures, if you examine them, they were organized by religious principle. And of course, this includes Varna-Ashram Dharma. People followed the law because they understood, if I do that, I will get a blessing. I'll go to heaven, right? I'll make spiritual progress because they understood spiritual values.
That's another part of my question, what you're covering there, the religious aspect, because there's a law in America, especially, the separation of church and state that was part of our founding fathers, so...
that doesn't apply.
Doesn't apply?
What we do voluntarily, everything today, if you want to get right down to the bottom line, everything is contract law today. There is no constitution. It's all contract law. And so whatever we agree to do with each other, that's perfectly valid. So if we agree to cooperate on the basis of religious principles, it's none of the government's business, actually. That is being applied to say that the government cannot enforce one religion over another one. So you have to be Christian, right? I mean, this is how they ruled the world before, right? You become a Christian, you lose your head, or you become a Muslim, or you lose your head. So that's what that doctrine applies to. But we can live according to religious principles. But beyond that, also, we have to teach the politicians. Why are things a mess? Because you're neglecting Dharma, because of too much tamagun. Here's how to solve the problem. We have to teach them.
So it has to be presented in a scientific way, like Prabhupada wanted us.
Yeah, of course, you have to present it in a way that they can understand and accept.
Maharaj, thank you very much for a very thought-provoking lecture. It's very nice, and it is very thought-provoking. Think deep inside. So the question I have
It becomes, if you read my book now after hearing this lecture, then you'll get a lot of realization. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. So the question I have is, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that unless one becomes a devotee, he cannot understand Krishna, right? Or the whole thing, how it is working. Yes,
Yeah.
we do understand how it is working with the grace of devotees and with the books, we have taken shelter. But when we try to approach these scientists and politicians, especially, they are not devotees, so they won't understand that. So what is the best method to kind of...
When I graduated with a master's degree from university in 1973, and this is before Bhaktivedanta Institute. And so I wrote to Prabhupada asking him how I could use my scientific credentials in Christian service. And he wrote back, he said, the scientists, they may choose to remain atheistic. And if they do that, what can we do? You can look this up. It's in the database. It's letter to Bhakta Dan, 1 December 1973. He said, we're not so much interested in convincing the rascal scientists, because if they choose to remain atheists, what can we do? He said, our main aim is to convince the innocent public that life comes from life and not from matter. So Prabhupada was not concerned about converting the intelligentsia. In fact, he wanted his Bhaktivedanta Institute, which came later, to challenge those scientists and show life comes from life. It's not evolved like you say. Huh? Anyway, the point is that we focus on the innocent people. We guide them. We show them. We bring them. We give them the solutions. And, you've seen perhaps the bumper sticker. If the people lead, the leaders will follow. Right? So that means if we get something going and it's working nicely, the leaders, they want to get in front of the parade and take some credit. That's okay. Let them do that. As long as we can steer that parade. So, yeah, we're interested in working with the public, not the so-called leaders.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, I would just like to reiterate the point, and thank you for the really enlightening and thought-provoking lecture. So Maharaj, you explained the problem and you stopped for discussion by mentioning about Daiva Varna-Asram. And I can't speak for others, but I have heard Varna-Ashram from certain lectures and mention about the 4 Varnas and the Ashramas. Where can we learn about how to apply Daiva Varna-Ashram in today's world, living here in Silicon Valley?
From my lectures. Sorry.
No, that's
there's very few devotees who focus on Varna-Ashram Dharma. I'm one. Bhakti Raghava Swami is one.
Jai.
Bhakti Vikas Swami is another.
Jai.
Bhakti Purna Maharaj is another. And as far as I know, Shivaram Swami now, he's taking this up also, and I hear that he's got a book. Now, everybody's going to have a different understanding, because it's like the blind man and the elephant. What is this thing called Varna-Ashram Dharma? And we're all learning. So each of us, we have our own segue. My segue is through economics. When I was writing my spiritual economics, the conclusion of spiritual economics is a gift economy based on devotional service. This is what Prabhupada, how he established ISKCON. A gift economy, giving. People came, he gave. And they reciprocated. So, a gift economy based on devotional service. So this is spiritual economics. So then when I started to think about, okay, how is this going to be applied practically, immediately I came to Varna-Ashram Dharma, or rather Daiva Varna-Ashram. It has to be done according to spiritual principles, which show, establishes the social machine in such a way that it can function in a proper way. So, the others, Bhaktivedanta Purna Maharaj, for example, because he's been in India so long and he's been absorbed in traditional culture, his discussions of Varna-Ashram Dharma are going to be according to traditional Indian culture. I don't speak about that. He does. Bhakti Raghava Swami, he speaks about simple living. Prabhupada's maxim, produce only what you need and use only what you produce. And Prabhupada said, if we just follow this one principle, it would change the world overnight. So, each of us, we have our different emphasis, our different way of understanding. So, you've heard tonight some introduction from mine. I have my Varna-Asram lectures are. I have a place online where they're stored. You can download them. Anyway, you have to tolerate. They're all with Russian translation, so you just have to tolerate that. But anyway, that's there. I can give you. If somebody will bring my notebook, I can give you that place where you can download them from. Anyway, okay. Yeah, Daiva.
Thank you, Maharaj.
My question is related to some of the components that are necessary to really get the farm projects going. And I've analyzed 4 things. What did Prabhupada say? Manpower?
Land, capital, manpower, and money.
Okay, I've kind of added one, not to add or subtract from my Gurudev, but cooperation. Is cooperation, because it's such a challenge, to convince even our leaders.
Yeah, well, that's leadership.
Yeah.
Huh? Leadership means people will follow.
Okay, so the leadership, manpower. So, in regard to the manpower, there's very few devotees. I mean, it's a handful of devotees that are.
It doesn't have to be done just by devotees.
Right. That's what I'm doing with my project, but
it's done with everybody.
Yeah.
For many years, I've been thinking about, okay, we start with the homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
When you're down and out,
Mm-hmm.
That looks better, right? You got a place to sleep and something to eat. That looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. But if you got a nice job and you're living in, Silicon Valley, simple living is like, when people are in Rajas, Sattva, it doesn't look very good. Right? That's the real challenge. The Daiva Varna-Asram is sattvic. And for people in Rajas and Tamas, boring. They say they ask me many times, yeah, we're going to live in a village. What are we going to do there? It's going to be boring.
What's there in it for me? That's what
Is Krishna bored in the village?
So, like that. We engage other people in other resources too. It doesn't have to be ours.
Train
just
them,
simply under our direction. But we have to be ready for that.
Right.
Because you try to start something up and you're not ready, very soon it's going to become obvious, and then you lose your following.
Right. Along the same line of what he asked, your question, Prabhu, I'd like to give this example because I think it's very inspiring. Columbus Temple, the leadership there got together with their congregation, and as a goal for the 50th anniversary this year, they approached 50 of their members and asked if if 10,000, I guess, was reasonable for their income level, and they all gave 50 people 10,000. That's $500,000. They were able to buy free and clear a piece of land, and they're making a master plan to develop that.
Very nice.
I contacted them promoting Bhakti Raghava Swami that he could come there, or we could do a workshop with others, and because I want to see that. I'd like to see. I've seen too many failed projects, and I think if we put our resources together and our intelligence, our vijas together, our brains, and all of the amazing talent that's there in our devotee pool, that we could help projects along in the right direction.
Land is a start, but it's not that important. Not that important. I was in Poland once, and the devotees were very excited to show me their land that they were thinking of buying. And I said, well, you see a picture of this land or a picture of that land, it all looks pretty much the same.
Okay.
So I said, what I want to know is, who's your leadership?
Okay.
And what's your plan? Oh, we don't have a leader. I said, don't buy the land.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have a leader, what are you going to do there? We have this idea, right? Because this is what community means in the modern world. We all live together in the same place. This is community, right? Just like all the houses around here. It's a community of sorts. But for what purpose? Right? This is just a bedroom community, and people go off and they do something else. Right? So, what's the purpose of your community? You have to have a plan, and then you have to have leadership to inspire others, right? So the Bhagavatam, the central element of the Bhagavatam centers around the Vedic kings. Why? Because they're so pivotal in culture. Without the Vedic kings, or without the king, things just don't happen. Right? He's essential. And we haven't understood that point. We need king. We need Kshatriyas. And without them, not going to happen.
Give an practical example. I don't quite understand that.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let me give you this URL
Yeah,
first. It's mediafire.com. /1 F 4 Q Y 9 1 4 letter O 7 W W N
M.
N like
Nancy.
Narayan.
What was the first phrase? What was the first phrase?
Mediafire.com.
Mediafire.com.
So my email address, Dhanesvara, just like it's spelled on my book. Get one of my books, then you'll know how to spell it. And then if you get that URL wrong, rewrite to me and I'll fix it up for you. So what was the question that we had to come back to?
Maharaj, your email address you were saying, Dhanesvara.
Dhanesvara@gmail.com.
There is an A at the end, right?
THANESV, like Vaishnav, ARA. Dhanesvara @gmail.
Maharaj, I have a question.
Let me finish with this.
The question was, I wanted a practical example. If in one of our Daiva Varna-Asram communities, in ISKCON Daiva Varna-Asram community, what the Kshatriya piece would look like.
Generally, the Kshatriya is like our temple presidents. Okay?
Administrator.
They're administrators. They look after the bigger picture. Okay? The Shudra, he can look after his family. The Vaishya, he can look after a group of families. The Kshatriya, he has to look after all the families.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And so the higher you go in the order, the more ability, the greater responsibility, the greater ability to work with a longer time horizon, and the greater interest in the welfare of others.
And we could look in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna describes the qualities of each of the.
Not like that.
Not like that.
He doesn't say it like that.
Oh, he doesn't say it. Okay.
Okay.
Yes, Maharaj, actually you given the example, president will be the Kshatriya and like that. Pre-temple president will, but how it will be applicable to the country and world? How, suppose the country should have the army and other stuff.
Well, it's according to the ability of the individual person. Just like there's many companies, right? They all have a CEO. How that company does is dependent upon the ability of the leader. Okay? So that's an example. It can be a company, it's an enterprise under the control, the direction of a particular person. So the kingdom is also under the direction or the control of the Kshatriya. So according to his ability, he can have a bigger kingdom or a smaller one. Yudhisthira, because he had great ability, he was king of the entire world. But there's so many smaller kings, right? So, like that.
But how can you relate this thing, army? So Kshatriya, army, suppose there is a demon, so in this world there will be the demon also, right?
Okay. Yeah,
So
okay,
how
this
can-
is interesting. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So look, Kshatriya, he's supposed to defend, right? And so everybody thinks, the men who want to be Kshatriyas, they go out and they practice Kung Fu or martial arts or swing around a sword or a bow and arrow. But what's the first defense for everybody? The roof over your house. Huh? A roof over your head, that's your first defense. So Kshatriya's first responsibility is to provide housing. Here's your house. Come here and live. Here's your facility you need to do your service. Now do your duty. And he comes around to see that everybody's doing their duty. And if you're not doing your duty, he's got a sharp sword, right? He's going to convince you one way or the other. You do your duty or we're going to have a discussion. Huh? Like this. So, and then that's the first defense. The next defense is outside. Okay? Well, the world's not like that anymore. Huh? More or less. So that's not really so much an issue. You know, we can only begin, we have to begin from where we're at. Let's put it that way. Okay? What the end result is going to look like, we're not going to see that for many generations. But we have to understand, just like if you go sailing, right? You have to point your ship in the right direction. There's no highway marker on the sea, right? You use your compass, you go in the right direction. So we have to establish the foundation for Daiva Varna-Asram as Prabhupada's disciples, his immediate followers. We establish the foundation, and the others who come later, they can build up the edifice. Like Prabhupada said, I've given you the framework of ISKCON, now you have to fill it in. So we point it in the direction that it has to go, and then everybody else can add to it as we. It'll take many generations till we see the final result. But then Prabhupada said, if this Daiva Varna-Asram is established, it will become like Satya Yuga. So, why? Because everybody's following religious principles. That's why. That's how to solve the problems of the world. It's not that we need more technology, more chemicals, anything like that. We simply follow religious principles. And we understand, Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnama Udachite. It's perfect and complete already. But we're messing it up. If we follow the system that Krishna's already given, it'll become like paradise.
You're asking for a very big leap of faith.
No. It's faith, it's faith founded in understanding. Okay? It's not pie in the sky faith. Just believe in Jesus and you're saved. Not that kind of faith. We understand Bhagavad Gita. We understand how the world is working. We have experience with gunas. We know how that acts. So then we understand. It's like cause and effect, right? You have children,
Yes.
so you know you're dealing with your children. It's not that you're dealing with them in faith. You have experience as a mom. You know what works, what doesn't work. So the same thing. We know how this world works. We know how the mentality of the sinful people. We know the mentality of the people. We know what the people need.
Maharaj, a lot of times, preachers for Varnashrama Dharma, they come in very strong. And they bring ideas that are very heavy blow. They kind of shatter whatever's on the plate.
Is that what I did today?
Oh, no. It's a general concept of Varnashrama, which is why I don't see that push towards Varnashrama. I noticed that it's much easier to get people to do books because it doesn't shake anything that they're doing. You just need to give us a little bit of time,
Sure.
not even the money,
Yep.
and they feel good about themselves. They get a little bit of sukriti from that service, and it's all you need for the first step. You need
That's
some
good.
more, another step, you need some more. But Varnashrama is about changing your attitude. It's about looking at the whole world with eyes of knowledge. Jnana chakshusha.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge. Because then you ask us to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Yeah.
But along the way, my challenge in understanding Varnashrama, because I have very good believers in our temple, and they do talk about so many things like, having ahimsa milk and, trying to do more agrarian, like you said, Varnashrama is still not clearly defined. I still don't get what is the boundary of Varnashrama, what is the clear characteristics of Varnashrama. Everybody turns up with their flavor of Varnashrama. But my biggest challenge in adopting Varnashrama is my inability to see the steps in the progress. I understand how book distribution makes me a better devotee. I understand how Vaidhi, in the process of following Vaidhi, I become Raganuga. But I don't understand the process of becoming Varnashrama. I only see Varnashrama as an end. I don't understand from any of the preachers the baby steps.
Means.
The baby steps. How do I get to there? I'm not going to throw everything I have and go to the village. But how do
Thank you. That's a very important point. And please don't take it that I'm telling you that you're going to quit your job tomorrow and I'll go to the village. That's not my intention here. Okay. You're all intelligent people, huh? You're all educated people. What I'm saying is, we have to understand how, we have to look at our philosophy and we have to see how to apply this. I gave the example of the social machine, okay? The social machine is not functioning now because the Vaishyas, they're controlling the whole society, right? The bankers, and they're destroying it, right? Before it was the Kshatriyas, right? And so on like this. And so, to put the social machine back in order, what's required? Well, first of all, the Brahmana, who understands the Dvija. Well, the Dvijas are required. The Brahmana who understands what to do, he gives the vision. The Kshatriya is the can-do guy, right? Brahmana is what to do. Kshatriya is can do. Okay, let's get together, we'll work together. You do this, you do this, you do this. We are missing Kshatriyas in our society.
I don't see Kshatriyas everywhere.
Right, we don't have them. And I'll tell you frankly why. Because the Dvijas, all of them, are independent men. They don't need a boss. They will not have a boss. Right? A businessman, he's not going to have a boss.
True.
He's the boss. Same thing with the Kshatriya and the actual Kshatriya and the actual Brahmana. Okay? But in ISKCON, we've created a culture of dependence because everybody's supposed to work underneath somebody else. And so, real Dvijas are not attracted. 5 years ago, I wrote a paper. I'm speaking about Varna-Ashram Dharma. 5 years ago, maybe 6 by now, I wrote a paper, 10 reasons why Varna-Ashram Dharma cannot be established in ISKCON. And that's the reason. Because the culture does not allow. Okay? The gurus do not understand it. They don't make it an important point for their disciples. And if that doesn't happen, they're not going to do it. Okay? What I'm trying to do is impress upon you, whoever, you take this as far as you can with it, understand what's needed, and act. Inside of ISKCON, outside of ISKCON, doesn't make any difference. Prabhupada is ISKCON. If you follow Prabhupada, you're in ISKCON. Doesn't matter about the GBC. I'm sorry. Okay? You follow Prabhupada, this is being in Prabhupada's mission. So, we can give up this idea you have to be under the control of some authority. It's not going to work. It's not going to serve the purpose, the larger purpose of Prabhupada's social reformation. It will not happen that way. So this requires independently thoughtful men. Prabhupada wrote a very famous letter to Karandar. It says, our society is meant to establish independently thoughtful men who can act on this philosophy. So, whoever has ears, they can hear. And whoever hears, they can act. It takes cooperation, but it begins with, Prabhupada says, both the Kshatriya and the Brahmana are required. Without them, together, it's not going to happen. So, it's not that we, the rank and file devotees are somehow or other going to marshal together and we're going to create Varnashram. No. That's not going to happen. First, there's organization. You gave. Land, capital, management, organization. Right? So first there's organization. Then people can come and they can find their place within it. So, I'm speaking in theory. to a large degree. I'm explaining the problems. I'm explaining why it's not happening, because we're living according to that dominant culture. Okay.
But I'm trying to understand what I can do from my side. My
What-
little bit. What is my little bit?
That depends on who you are, and what's your part in the social machine.
I want
Okay.
to know that. What is my part?
Well, that means follow your heart. Okay. Now, first of all, we're all Varna Sankara. We're mixed Varnas, because our parents did not follow the Pratiloma Aniloma properly, so we're all mixed up. So we like some things of Brahman. Myself, I'm a Brahman. I've got Brahminical tendencies, Sudra tendencies, zero Vaishya, none, and a little bit of Kshatriya. Huh? Okay. So I do engineering work. I like that. That's Sudra work. I do. Why is that?
They're all engineers.
You just called everybody Sudra.
That is a fact.
Why are we surprised? We are glorified Shudras.
If you didn't offend anybody,
I was just speaking
no.
about myself. Okay. You know, then 15 years ago, I decided just to follow my Brahminical tendencies, and write books and preach. And I'm happy doing that. So, each of us, we have our nature. It's not that you have, not that we're going to be just one thing. Maybe you know, we're all mixed, so you do some of this and some of that both. But the point is that you be who you are, right? Just like nice flowers in this garland, huh? The rose doesn't decide, well, I'm going to be a daisy. The daisy doesn't try to be a chrysanthemum. They are who they are. And that combination makes it beautiful. Huh? So we have to be who we are. So you find out your nature and you make it your purpose to give whatever your gift is. Everyone. Huh? We make it our purpose to give what it is that we have. Don't focus on getting, just focus on giving. And then we will see our life will change. Huh? And then we'll be fulfilling our part in Varna-Ashram Dharma.
Does astrology help with that, or
Astrology can help, yeah. So if you have a good astrologer, there's
good astrology, yeah.
Petit Pavan's wife, she wrote a book, How to Mess Up Your Life with Astrology. So be careful with that.
That's the wife of a devotee astrologer.
Maharaj, one question. In fact, I'm so glad Mataji asked, because I wasn't as forthcoming, aggressive as, or thoughtful as how she put it together. My first question was, what is Daiva Varna-Ashram? But one question I have, when you mentioned about when we have this as the end result, then that will be the beginning, Satyuga. But one thing is, when we read our scriptures, and sometimes it is so daunting, and it's also motivating to get out of this material world, because we have 427,000 years of this Kali Yuga, and it's going to degrade further and further, and who knows what more. If we read for the descriptions from Bhagavad, it's scary. It actually motivates in some way. But so that is a little disparaging when we read that, a little demotivating. We are talking about changing the world, but here when we read from the scriptures how things are going to get so.
No, you're missing the other point. Lord Chaitanya's mercy.
Yes, the next 5,000 years.
This giving the holy name, this is what's going to change the world. So, giving the books, like I was in Los Angeles, and your guru, Vaisheshika Prabhu, he gave such a very nice class, explaining how these books are the holy name. So it was a wonderful concept. So that's how, we can't do everything. We do what we can do. Okay? But it's meant to bring more people so that, in cooperation, that we get the whole job done. So, so we each find our part, whatever that is. Yes.
You mentioned about the Dvijas and them being the thought leaders in terms of showing the way forward for the Kshatriyas to come and do it, and everybody to chime in. One of the purposes of ISKCON, and Prabhupada mentioned, he writes that the first point he says is the systematic propagation of this culture and strategic planning, or you got to organize and think how you want to achieve this, and that just feeds into this Dvija point that you mentioned, that this movement has to produce these independently thoughtful men for the movement to continue. Just wanted to share that.
Okay. This is a comment, not a question. Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. We're getting
I have to give class to Russian devotees at 8 o'clock, so I'm going to have to excuse myself. So.
But there is a reference to Daiva Varna-Asram in 7th canto and 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. If devotees, like I just want to add to Mataji, she's asking for, if they are reading Srila Prabhupada purports, Prabhupada Narad Muni explained to Yudhishthir Maharaj about what is our Varna and what is Ashrama, we have to follow. Why we won't take that into seriousness? Like, as a devotee, we just read it and we forget it. My question is, why the leadership in ISKCON, they don't stress much on that?
I can answer that. You have to ask them.
Like you see, there are 660 temples, there are 60 farm communities within ISKCON.
Anyway, I can't answer that question. I don't know. It's greatly unfortunate because Prabhupada considered it 50% of his work. So, hand me some of the karma books. So, I've got a few of my books, okay, Spiritual Economics, and I read you some of it, which is from the conclusion. And I've got another small book, which is great for book distribution, called Change the Karma. I wrote this when I was in Europe because there's so many big protests in Europe. People, they want, change. Well, Michael Jackson said you start with the man in the mirror. So that's the idea of karma. If we want we want a better world, we have to be better people. So, anyway, you can get a pack of 10 of these are cheap books. You can get a pack of 10 for $25. So a lot of devotees buy 10, or the individual price donation, $4, generally what they're going to retail for. And the Spiritual Economics book, $15. So, anyway, come up and get them. My trusted aide is going to help handle that for me. And I'll be happy to sign it, but I've got to go to my other class.
That was going to be my question. Would you have time to sign?
Yeah, I'll sign it.
Tomorrow.
You can. Are you going to?
Yes.
Whoever's not going to Rath Yatra, leave your book here and I'll sign it tonight. Okay? But if you're going to Rath Yatra, you can try to see me at Rath Yatra. There's a book table and I'll sign them there.
Jai.
Okay?
Oh, there is the upcoming farm conference we want to do.
Oh yeah. So he's going to make an announcement, but wait till I need. So anyway, there's a lot more questions. This just opens up a lot more questions. If you want to approach me tomorrow, we can speak more at during Rath Yatra. I'd be happy to do that. Please listen to my classes on Varna-Ashram Dharma. I think I have a very unique way of expressing this, presenting this material. Especially, I'm the only one who speaks about it from the economic perspective, which is extremely important. Again, it's a matter of our cooperative effort to work together to make this world a better place. It's all due to Srila Prabhupada's mercy and his grace, so please follow his instructions carefully, chant your rounds carefully for spiritual protection, read his books every day to develop your understanding in Krishna consciousness. Thank you very much for your association. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai! Dhanesvara Pr ki Jai! So there is a upcoming farm conference in the West Coast. Dhanesvara Prabhu, Bhakti Raghav Maharaj, and we are also requesting Vaisheshika Prabhu and few leaders to come in and talk about this Daiva Varna-Asram and how to implement practically. So we don't know the dates, we are still working with many of the leaders, they are busy with the calendar. So please stay tuned, we'll send out an email to ISKCON History General and all that. Thank you.
Jai Hari Bol.
So give to this garland to Daiva Prabhu. Hari Bol. So if anybody would like to take books, please take here. Only master please.
Just close this.
All credit card access.
Write it for next time, or even